What is up, YouTube? Welcome to my channel. As you can see by the title, we're talking about the new hours of service rule coming to the trucking industry, the final rule. Today is the 28th, so I'm dropping this video on the 29th. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So if you're not familiar with the hours of service in trucking, that is just the time that drivers have to drive every day and every week. You get so many hours, and it's restricted to drivers. What this does is it helps with like safety as far as keeping driver fatigue down and keeping accidents from happening. So it prevents accidents and things like that. So they've been playing with the hours of service for a while. Previously, they gave us personal conveyance, and they took it to where we couldn't drive over 5 miles per hour without our clocks starting if we were in off duty. So some things that are changing tomorrow. The first, let's go ahead and get into it. I'm reading this off of the website, the FMCSA website. So hours of service drivers final rule. FMCSA revises the hours of service regulations to provide greater flexibility for drivers subject to those rules without adversely affecting safety. Like I said, it's huge safety. So let's go ahead and get into number one. The agency expands the short haul exception to 150 air miles and allows a 14-hour work shift to take place as part of the exception. So as you know, I'm on a dedicated route, and I don't know if this applies to me because I don't think it will apply to me today. I think I did like 2 loads and I'm working on my third, and I've already driven 385 miles. So I don't think that's going to apply to me, but probably like more of a local driver, someone doing like a school bus or something like that. That could possibly be it, or I don't know. We'll see. So let's go ahead and get into number two. Number two expands the driving window during adverse driving conditions by up to an additional 2 hours. So that means that if you are driving in bad weather and you've run out of time on your 11-hour or your 14, I believe you can add 2 hours on your 11 and your 14, giving you 13 and 16, and that will get you enough time to get somewhere safe. So it has to be it has to be adverse weather. So it can't be, you can't look back and say like, hey, it was a light rain or something like that. Like, you can't use that type of excuse if it's not adverse weather. It's like a tornado or a hurricane. That's what that's what I suspect that means. Number three requires a 30-minute break after 8 hours of driving time instead of on-duty time, and allows an on-duty not driving period to qualify as the required break. So let's kind of break that down. Requires a 30-minute break after 8 hours of driving time. So right now, I will have to do a 30-minute break on off-duty break, right? This says that I can do it on on-duty break, and it also says that it won't affect my driving time. So let's see. Requires a 30-minute break after 8 hours of driving time instead of on-duty time, and allows an on-duty not driving period to qualify as the required break. I wish that I could do an on-duty and driving so that I could get my loads and whatever. But I guess like I said, it stops the clock. I'm gonna try and read another thing that gives more detail on the rules. Let's go ahead and move on to number four. Number four, it modifies the sleeper berth exception to allow a driver to meet the 10-hour minimum off-duty requirement by spending at least 7 hours rather than 8 hours of that period in the sleeper berth, and a minimum of duty period of at least 2 hours spent inside or outside the berth, provided the 2 periods total at least 10. Okay, so if you do that's with the 8-2 split. Now you can do a 7-3 split. As long as, like I said, as long as both periods total at least 10 hours, and that neither qualifying period counts against the 14-hour driving window. Okay, we don't get 14 hours to drive. I don't know what that means. We only get 11 hours to drive. So that's kind of confusing, right? Unless they changed it to where we can drive 14, which I don't think they did. I had another link that I want to share with you guys, and it goes a little bit more into detail. So this is also from the FMCSA website. So on the adverse conditions, it gives a little bit more detail on like the types of conditions. They mean adverse driving conditions mean snow, ice, sleet, fog, or other adverse weather conditions, or unusual, road or traffic conditions that were not known or could not reasonably be known to a driver immediately prior to the beginning of duty day, or immediately before beginning driver or driving, after a qualifying rest break or sleeper berth period, or a motor carrier immediately prior to dispatching the driver. Okay, that's for the adverse driving conditions. So with the 30-minute break, they gave a pretty good example. I want to read this example. So let's see, 8 hours of driving without at least a 30-minute break. 30-minute break is satisfied by time off duty in sleeper berth, on duty, not driving. 30 minutes must be consecutive, but can be satisfied by any combination of the above activities. Examples: no violation if you do it this way. After 10 hours off duty, the driver comes on duty at midnight and drives for 5 hours. Goes on duty, not driving, for a half an hour. Drives for 5 more hours. Goes on duty, not driving, for 1 hour. Drives 1 hour. Goes on duty, not driving, 1.5 hours. And then takes another 10 consecutive hour off duty. Under the new hours of service rule, the 30-minute on-duty break taken between 5 and 5:30 a.m. will suffice for the mandatory 30-minute break, and the property carrying driver is allowed to drive up to the maximum of 11 hours, 6 more hours in this example, before needing 10 consecutive hours off duty. So it says that you'll get a violation if you do it this way. There is a violation between 9 and 9:30, and it's showing like a log. After 10 hours off duty, the driver comes on duty, not driving, after midnight for 1 hour, drives 8.5 hours, goes on duty, not driving, for half an hour, drives 2 hours, goes off duty for 1 hour, goes on duty, not driving, for half an hour, drives for half an hour, and takes 10 consecutive hours off duty. In this example, violation occurs at 9 a.m. as the driver drives over 8 consecutive hours without at least a 30-minute break. Consecutive 30-minute interruption of driving status may be satisfied either by off-duty sleeper berth or on-duty not driving time, or by a combination of off-duty sleeper berth and on-duty not driving time. That did not happen in this example, which led to the violation. Obviously, he did over 8 hours of driving. Even though he split it up, he still did over 8 hours of driving and didn't complete that. Actually, yeah. He drove for 8.5 hours and didn't stop for 30 minutes. So that's what kind of got him in violation. So this is the last one, the sleeper berth provision changes. We're going to talk about what's new. Off-duty period, whether in or out of the sleeper berth, is at least 2 hours long, and the other involves at least 7 consecutive hours in the sleeper berth. Both periods added together must equal at least 10 hours. When paired, neither time period counts against the 14-hour driving window. 8-hour sleeper berth period by itself can no longer be excluded from the 14-hour driving window. So let's talk about this example. In this example, we're going to look at how the sleeper berth provision affects both the 11-hour driving limit and the 14-hour driving window for a property carrying commercial motor vehicle. I just went cross-eyed. There are no violations in this example. Okay? The driver comes on duty at midnight after having 10 consecutive hours off duty, which means he or she can drive for up to 11 hours within a 14-hour window, indicated by arrows you can't see. The driver used those 11 hours by 5 p.m., then entered the sleeper berth for 7 consecutive hours. Because the driver accumulated at least 10 hours of rest using a combination of 3 consecutive hours off duty from 7 to 10 a.m. and 7 consecutive hours in the sleeper berth, 5 p.m. to midnight, the driver has not violated the 11-hour driving limit because both periods are qualifying rest breaks. When used together, they can both be excluded from the 14-hour driving window. So there is no 14-hour violation. It says, note, when using the sleeper berth provision, the order of the qualifying breaks does not matter. The break of at least 2 hours can fall before or after the sleeper berth period of at least 7 hours. Alright, so this is all the flexibility we will be getting. This is the final rule. I did not talk about the short haul because I don't understand that. I don't do the short haul. I'm on a dedicated route. I don't know what short haul means. If y'all know what that means and you can give some insight on that, leave it down below in the comments. Also, let me know what you think about these new rules. Will that help you be more flexible? I don't really do any 8-2 splits. And as far as the on-duty break, we'll see what happens with that. I'll probably do an update video so that we can understand this. I actually talked to my dispatcher. I don't know if I said this already, but I talked to my dispatcher. I called him. I was like, hey, do you know about the hours of service rules? They change tomorrow. And he was like, what are you talking about? So a lot of people are not aware of this. That's why I made this video. I thought, and that's where I mess up. I think that everybody knows everything. I found out about this like the beginning of this week. They've been talking about it for a while. A lot of things the FMCSA does, they talk about it. Sometimes they implement it, sometimes they don't. Like the video I made about getting your CDL and how it would be harder. I'll put that video here if you want to check it out. But how it will be harder to get your CDL. I made that video and it talked about like just standardized testing for the whole industry, but like it did not happen. So I just kind of chill back on all these update videos through the FMCSA because you have to make sure that they're going to go through, or you'll kind of be in the situation that I was in where I made that video and it really didn't make any sense because nothing happened. But this happens. It goes into effect tomorrow. Today is the 28th of September. Tomorrow is the 29th of September. And these final rules will go into effect tomorrow. So good luck with everything. Good luck. Stay safe out there on the road. It's your boy Chrisleetv. Deuces.